So I know from a personal point of view, in diving deep into the marketplaces space, I had made a bunch of assumptions, and then all those assumptions were proven wrong to a certain degree. It's a much more complex and nuanced conversation, and it's really fascinating to see where marketplaces fit within not only the e-commerce space, but just sort of retail omnichannel strategy in general. And so I'm very excited to have Sharon Gee here, who is the Senior Director and GM of Omnichannel at BigCommerce. I've had an opportunity to speak with her before, and she has a lot of great insights to offer on sorting out the whole marketplace sort of landscape and where that can fit in. So Sharon, thanks so much for joining us at Retail Innovation Week.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Excellent. So maybe as a starting off point, you can just give us a little context on your role, and then a bit about what BigCommerce does for people who might not know.
Sure. So I lead the omnichannel technology partnerships practice at BigCommerce, which means that my team leads the relationships that help our merchants, essentially the partnerships with any ads channel, marketplace channel, or channel that a merchant might want to advertise on, sell on, or fulfill from. So that includes Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Wish, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, all the channels that you might have an app on your phone that supports. And then anyone who helps a merchant connect to them or sell on them. So that's listing solutions, inventory and order management solutions, fulfillment partners. And so BigCommerce is an e-commerce platform. We are a leading open SaaS e-commerce platform for businesses of all sizes, but we're especially well suited for mid-market. So, 1 to 50 million in GMV, and enterprise, which is 50 million and above in online business. And our mission really is to help merchants sell more at every stage of their growth, and across all channels. So that includes, we act kind of as a central nervous system in which a merchant can manage their sales and their fulfillment. We have integrations to all the major channels, enabling merchants to sync data and inventory and orders between the various different sales channels and advertising channels. And then leverage their integrated downstream systems, whether it's an ERP or an inventory and order management solution, in order to be able to fulfill the orders that come from all those various different channels. Unlike some e-commerce platforms that kind of take a vertical approach to their solutions, BigCommerce is a partner-first ecosystem. So we have very significant investment in the SDKs that we make available to our partners. So we commit to taking an open approach, and feel that this is really important because it allows merchants to create the commerce stack that they need to be most successful, instead of offering solutions that essentially address 80% of the use cases. But if your use case isn't met, then sorry, we don't have a solution for you. We take the opposite approach. So it's very much a best of breed open ecosystem focused on allowing the merchant the choice for the partners that they need to suit their business, because they know best.
Right back to the beginning of that intro, you rattled off all of these amazing marketplaces. I think you've done that once or twice before in the past. Since we're talking about marketplaces today, maybe you can just kind of situate us in sort of where you see the state of marketplaces currently, and then some of the big shifts that are kind of happening within the marketplaces space.
Yeah. So what's fascinating is it's very hard to categorize what a marketplace is now. And because we're reaching a singularity where all of the platforms that used to be ads platforms, think Google, now has buy on Google, which is the ability for a merchant to list their products and then receive orders from a channel, essentially. And we're seeing the same thing with the social commerce platforms, where historically Facebook was very, very much an ads focused organization that was, driving traffic directly to a merchant's site and monetizing, their relationship with their merchants via primarily advertising, with the announcement of Facebook Shops and checkout on Instagram, both of which BigCommerce is one of the 2 e-commerce platforms that has a native integration and a very, very tight relationship with the Facebook commerce team. Now it requires product data, inventory data, and order exchange to go back and forth in order to be able to fulfill those orders that are coming from checkout on Instagram, or the checkout capabilities across Facebook Shops and Instagram Shops, that allows those orders to be brought into BigCommerce and then fulfilled via whatever solutions a merchant already has in place. So what is a marketplace? Well, historically, we've thought it's Amazon or eBay or Walmart, or Wish is a newcomer to the space that recently IPO'd. And there's many, many global regional marketplaces that specialize in certain countries and regions. Mercado Libre in Latin America, for example, and many others in Asia Pacific and Europe. And so what brings them all together in the direction that we're going is that they all require structured product data. So they all need product data, inventory data, product attributes, because all of these channels surface these products with various different algorithms in their search and merchandising capabilities. And so one of the best things that a merchant can do is to really invest in making sure that their product data is, number one, optimized for those channels if they want to sell across multiple channels. So making sure that you have all of the relevant data that a Google schema cares about, because that's how they're surfacing your product to increase discoverability, which of course then leads to better return on ad spend and more sell-through, more GMV on those channels. So, we're seeing a huge shift in the marketplace ecosystem, because ads platforms are marketplaces. Marketplaces are offering ads capabilities, and the merchant now has to essentially establish their channel strategy. COVID didn't allow for anybody to just decide, no, I'm not going to figure out how to interface with digital marketplaces. You must have a strategy in that regard, whether you are sending all of your best sellers or just a limited SKU selection to Amazon to be fulfilled by FBA, or whether you're using it to turn over stale inventory, for example, to make sure that you aren't holding inventory across seasons. There's lots of different strategies, and that's one of the first things that I would recommend, is that in order to have an omnichannel strategy, you have to know what your channel mix is, which is who likes your products and where are they shopping, and be honest with yourself about that. Where can you find them in this post-COVID world where everyone's going to marketplaces to discover new products? And then how can you build a relationship with them? How can you have them discover your product on those channels, and then eventually get them to come back, and direct traffic to offerings that live on your direct-to-consumer site, where you can then do things like capture their email address, remarket to them, make sure that you can build a loyal relationship with them by offering additional benefits, whether it's free shipping or loyalty programs or subscription-based offers. All of these are the kind of things that I think one needs to consider when creating an omnichannel strategy and how your brand sits within those marketplaces.
Well, I guess when you think about marketplaces, what are the opportunities that are present for a seller, and how it versus the challenges that they need to be navigating or thinking about there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's some obvious benefits, right? Additional eyeballs in a large customer pool is the biggest one, which is, so the reality is that consumers are absolutely shopping in multiple channels today, and creating a presence in all the places where somebody might discover your product is a really important way to increase your exposure to acquire new merchants, new shoppers as a merchant. And the other thing is that it's relatively easy to launch on them. So it's very fast. It doesn't take the long process or longer process to launch a direct-to-consumer site, although we're working very hard to make that as easy as possible, because you are selling on an existing platform using their schema rather than building your own. Getting started on a marketplace is really simple, because it's mostly about product data and imagery, and some making sure that that's optimized is really important. But there's not a significant requirement for additional brand content. It's optional, and whether it's enhanced brand content or otherwise, there's lots of opportunity for products in context of lifestyle content. But as that's one of the benefits, is that it's easy to get started. It's fast. And as a third-party seller, kind of all you have to do is load your products data, your images, and your inventory, and then set up your kind of payment your payment details and shipping details. And so, we certainly recommend having a standalone direct-to-consumer experience, because some of the challenges that come along with that you mentioned around marketplaces is, although you have a lot more eyeballs, there's significantly increased competition. So, if somebody's browsing your site, they're still on your site. If they decide not to, maybe they click on an ad from Facebook and they come to your site and they're looking at that product that they like. Well, if they get distracted on your site, it's still your products they're buying. Whereas if they get distracted on a marketplace, they very much could be gone. They're noisy channels. particularly if you're selling kind of undifferentiated or commoditized products. And so, which becomes kind of a race to the bottom. So you have to figure out, one of the other challenges is that there's less access to data. So when you own your own direct-to-consumer site and have marketplaces as part of your channel strategy, but not your sole strategy, you have access to data. Whereas if you were only on marketplaces, a lot of the data that you have about your merchant and the ability to retarget, or about your shopper and the ability to retarget them is very limited, which we're very familiar with relationships with folks like Amazon, for example. When selling on your own property, you own all the elements of the customer data and can use that information, sometimes in very, very, advanced ways to personalize the experience across channels for them, leveraging, the signal and pixel that many of the ads channels have implemented in order to make it possible to make your advertising as effective as possible. Some of the other challenges is you don't always own your brand experience. So there's some like adjacencies issues on a marketplace you don't have as much control over. They can perceive their purchases as coming directly from the marketplace rather than from the seller, which doesn't build loyalty around a seller. It builds loyalty around a marketplace. And that can be a challenge that needs to be contemplated when you're evaluating the pros and cons of how do I get all of these eyeballs and make people build loyalty with my brand. And so, they do have the ability for enhanced brand content and for you to differentiate yourself, but you have to take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm curious, and I think you're sort of heading towards this path anyways, but again, you hinted at this a little bit before, but when you're thinking about how you balance those eyeballs with what you're listing on marketplaces versus what you have on your own channels, what are some of the ways that companies are kind of navigating that balance?
It depends on the category, honestly, and what you're selling, and also what how people are shopping for those products on those marketplaces. So unfortunately, there's not like a cure-all answer that I can give you for everybody, but maybe some examples would be helpful. If you are a retail store that does let's say you have a really large brick and mortar footprint, and if you have products that you're not driving a lot of traffic to that are going to sit in order to get 2-day Amazon FBA, if you send products to them, you will need to ensure that you have enough inventory and that inventory is moving through fast enough that you're not getting kind of charged significant either short-term or long-term storage fees, because you need to make sure there's enough sell-through on the products. So I've seen one of the strategies be that people will put a limited number of the things they never run out of on Amazon. The black version of that dress or that water bottle that it's always in stock, that you can ensure you're making the sell through because it's the most popular item. And then they'll have seasonal or various different color variants or customizable products on their direct to consumer site that they have educated their shopper with via content on enhanced brand content or on their marketplace store, or if you're looking on social commerce channels, something like a tagged post on a tagged shopping post on Instagram that then drives back to other more limited products that live on the direct-to-consumer side. That's an example of a strategy that we've seen be really effective. So you can limit the SKU count. One of the other ways that having a presence allows you brand registry on those marketplaces so that you can control what people are seeing. Because if you're not on the marketplace, it's guaranteed that somebody else is probably bidding on your brand terms, and so or even selling your product, and so it allows you the ability to kind of moderate that ecosystem and be aware of how your brand is actually being sold, because even if you're not selling it, other people might be.
Yeah, that's one of the fascinating things that I sort of see within that marketplace space is just what you said, is that it's almost like a defensive strategy in order to be there and do what you can to kind of control the narrative as much as that's sort of possible on these spaces, and then consider the ways that you can kind of either make that transaction obviously through that platform or push people into your own channels ultimately. I mean, you touched on this at the beginning, but I'm interested because social commerce is obviously something that has been talked about for a long period of time. And, through, as any sort of adoption happens, like it appears to be a big thing and then it just doesn't work for whatever reason. But like, what are your thoughts on like where we're at with like quote unquote social commerce, and like what is the big shift that's kind of like enabled it to be a thing again, or maybe moving forward?
Yeah, so I think there's some tactical answers, and then there's like more larger strategic answers. Social commerce, there has an unprecedented number of eyeballs on the channels. Huge, over 80% of people on Instagram have said they have either looked or discovered or validated a purchase via the platform. And so what's really interesting about, having launched the native experience that allows our merchants to sell with checkout on Instagram, which allows, the shopper to check out directly within the app, but list their products that exist within their BigCommerce store on, Instagram, and then via tagged posts, see those tagged products and then check out directly within the app. One of the things that's been really interesting is seeing the kinds of brands that succeed doing that are many of the ones that you would expect that would be a good fit for Instagram users. So you can imagine fashion, apparel, health, beauty, personal care, exercise, lifestyle, all of these kinds, home goods, all of these kinds of products are very, and categories are much more successful in a channel like checkout, like Facebook Shops and Instagram Shopping with checkout and Instagram capability, where the checkout happens right within the app. But that's a very different, I think, kind of brand persona than someone who might really succeed on Amazon, for example. And so really identifying the strategy. I think social commerce is a really, really excellent offering for certain kinds of brands, and it's not a fit for everyone. So we're not seeing a lot of success in like automotive parts, for example, on social commerce yet, but maybe that's because.
Totally. Well, exactly. There's an interesting demographic sort of like crossover that perhaps doesn't happen there, but that makes sense. So as you think about where sort of BigCommerce is today, and everything that you're kind of seeing in the marketplace, the broader marketplace, but marketplaces specifically, what are the big things that you're sort of paying attention to as we're, looking into, beyond 2021 and beyond?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's the most important for our merchants is to make sure that they can succeed in an omnichannel strategy. And in order to do that, there's kind of 4 pillars of merchant success, if we were to simplify it. One of them is the ability to choose the right channel. So some of the things we're investing in is making it, is kind of our open SaaS strategy, is in building the SDKs and the APIs that make it possible to offer a wide array of partners to our merchants to choose from in order to be able to do that. So a merchant needs to be able to choose the right channels. So what combination of marketplaces and social platforms and ads solutions and platforms make the most sense for their specific business and audience? And then how can we help them connect to them? What listing partners are available in order to make sure that they're getting the product, so if you follow the life of a product, if you put a product in BigCommerce and then want to syndicate that product to various different channels and then bring the orders in to be fulfilled via the technology that you have integrated, you need to decide what those channels are, and then you need to make sure you have the technology that helps support that. So that's a very big area of investment for us, is making sure that we can help those merchants get that product syndicated to the right channels, brought in, via partner-powered solutions. This isn't all with native solutions, but with the infrastructure that allows partners to help our merchants do this. And then to efficiently manage their products, orders, and inventory. So that means making sure that it's possible for our partners who provide advanced order management or inventory management in partnership with the various different channels that a merchant might contemplate, can easily integrate, like 1, 2, 3 clicks and set up to BigCommerce, so that you can turn on the marketplaces, but then also route the orders that come from them to a place where they will be fulfilled. So channels, inventory and order management. You need to be able to invest in marketing. So we need to make sure that we are investing in having the partnerships that are required in order to deliver the highest return on ad spend for our merchant base. That means we're investing in relationships with Google and Facebook and Amazon and eBay and all of the partners that we've already mentioned. You know, whether it's marketplace ads or Google free listings, email marketing. I think one of the biggest takeaways is I'm still surprised that people don't understand that Google has now offered free listings. So it used to be you'd have to pay to get your product data listed on Google, and Google has come out and said, no, we will make your listings free. Just send us your product data, get it over to us, start a Merchant Center account so that we can send you organic product listing traffic. If you aren't doing that, you should do it immediately. And then optimizing fulfillment strategy is making sure that we are investing in 2021 to make sure that our merchants can leverage all sorts of options, including Amazon's kind of famous 2-day promise with FBA. And beyond that, there are other partners like Deliverr who are offering the 2-day badge for other channels that aren't Amazon. So you can work with Deliverr to offer 2-day shipping for Wish and Walmart and Facebook and Google and others. And so how can you make sure that you are delivering on the entire shopper journey and exceeding their expectations all the way across that? And then how do we make sure that our merchants can do that easily with integrated solutions is a big focus for us in 2021.
Amazing. That is so much great information. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today, and good luck as you move forward in 2021.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.